So where are the other decks that we didn't talk about in top 5? Because everybody's like, oh my god, Robbie, you didn't put Striker in top cut? You mean Mystic Mine Express? Let's dig on into the rest of the meta. Rogue will be in another video. Like 30% of you guys that you already know haven't smashed living crap out of that subscribe button. Smash it so we can climb up the 100k ladder here. Number 1 on our list here for more of the meta here is going to be Skystrike. Now, you guys remember Mystic Mine Turbo, right? Ah, yes. A deck that grinds out the competition. Yeah. What is that? You guys forgot about Engage being at 1. That's not a surprise. Well, look, alright, you can be mad at Striker all you want. You can look at this deck and go, shame on you, Mystic Mine. How dare you ruin the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! I mean, I'm going to be honest with you, I think it's a combination of Striker's toolboxing options and the fact that this deck has access to Mystic Mine, but it also has access to Hayate to poke you directly. Yeah, like the fact that you have access to do stupid stuff like that is your consistency for this deck. So, Engage might be at 1, and I understand that people are upsetty spaghetti that this deck, it was performing again. It amazes me that the community's upset that a deck from 4 or 5 years ago is still competing. I'd consider that good value, or I'd consider it maybe the next hero deck. You guys remember Heroes and Mermails? We went through the eras of those decks being the real contenders and things. And in terms of things like that, I would say that Striker is the new hero in terms of its rogue viability. You know, they gave that deck, it's amazing like how you can do with just creating 1-for-1s that have additional effects via being sent to the graveyard, plus giving them floodgate effects. Oh my god, Mystic Mine. Why would you not play that? Demise Land and other shenanigans? Yeah. Also, plus Adventure Package, if you want to play that variant. Like I said, Skystrike is a very formidable deck, just in terms of its toolboxing options, so it'd be like that. Next up here is Eldritch. Now, I still want to put the Eldritch branded deck in kind of its own little separate category here, because while it still does use the branded deck, or the branded engine to put a boss monster on the field, it still is using triple skill drain to grid grind the opponent. And once again, you have to understand that control decks are very, very, very up there. And interestingly enough, triple skill drain is still an annoyance. I'm hearing way less people crying about it than we had previously, but this is still something that kind of will grind people's gears. And like I said, this still kind of falls into the category of branded because it does play the engine in it. But when you have some of the best recurability, we did learn out of the YCS, though, that if you're a good enough player, your opponent flipping a skill drain on you doesn't matter if you don't have what we like to call protection. You can flip skill drain and go down to 7,000 life points, but if your opponent can put 7, 8, 9,000 damage on the field and play through your 1 to 2 protections, I'm in danger. That's kind of what it is. Plus, with the Adventure Package being a lot more dominating right now, it kind of bullies skill drain out of the room a little bit. And like I said, skill drain will remain one of those more formidable foes. But you gotta remember, you still gotta play around like your Solemn Judgments, Solemn Strikes, you know, Ice Dragons, Prisons, all the other 28, 30 back row that this stupid deck can produce and grind you out. And then not even to, you know, mention the fact that Golden Lord's fat butt can be 38 or 2800. You know, you got a lot of things to kind of deal with in terms of little intricacies for that deck. But, like I said, if you know how to handle it, or if you board in appropriate back row, you should be able to grind through that deck pretty easily. But I'm still going to put it in top cut here. Next up here is going to be where I'm going to put Flaunderies. Now, it's actually hilarious. I was reading a whole bunch of people on a thread talking about, like, stop playing Flaunderies. And I'm like, why would you say that? Like, he's like, oh, well, it's an easy matchup for me. I'm like, so you're one of these people that just because you have an easy matchup for it doesn't mean that the rest of the community is going to have a good time. Considering the fact that this deck pretty much tops every regional that it's at least in some sort of one-of capacity, usually as a Rogue Buster deck. Yeah, it's just that also, You know how many people don't know how to play around a dimensional shifter? Like, I'm already hearing, this is hilarious, there's always that one guy that complains about Dimension Shifter just being one of the most oppressive cards in the game, and I'm always like, I don't understand. It's literally a one-turn floodgate, and you're complaining about that when you have other decks that are doing way worse. Example, putting 10 negates on the field across the table here. You know what? But that's just the duality of Yu-Gi-Oh! Players, ladies and gentlemen. Yu-Gi-Oh! Players like to complain about anything. But M-Pen Turbo is still doing its job out here. Is there anything else really to say about this? I mean, do you want to play double Stormwinds? Because there's builds that are played double Stormwinds. Do you want to play M-Pen, 2 M-Pens? You know, 1 Mega Rise and 1 Apex Avion. You know, do you want to play 2 Mega Rises? Those are your skill tree options that you have to ask yourself when you're looking at this deck. And oddly enough, those are the ones that really matter at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen. And it's kind of crazy to me just how much those 2 little options come up all that much. Because maybe you decide you want to play 1 M-Pen and you all of a sudden you need it. I don't know. Deck building with Flunder in terms of tech choices is very, very interesting to say nonetheless here. So Flunder's still very much a top competitor. Next up here is going to be Dragon Link. Oh my god. First of all, Dragon Link players, I've given you guys crap for so long, but I'm going to continue to say the same thing here. Your representation has been going down, alright? You guys didn't really lose anything. I understand that, like, a lot of Albaz decks aren't even playing Alba Lenitus, but to the chunk of people that are playing Alba Lenitus, plus the general shift in the meta, Boral and Dragon did nothing for you. Yeah, you got a really cool boss monster, and yeah, your fields are amazing when you can put them up and survive. But the problem here lies, you're still playing Dragon Link out here. It's actually very interesting to me how much we've seen this deck actually get power crept at this point in time. And I don't know what it is. I kind of had hope that I'd be wrong about Dragon Link considering the less push that we were seeing with this, but I do have to put this deck in here, unfortunately. It's like, I think it's still like top. It's doing better than Phantom Knights. Phantom Knights out here are like 12th, 13th, 14th best deck. Like they're so far down in the corner that it's crazy. At least Dragon Link mains are having their decks survive and are getting the chance to still do something with it. So like I said, your Boral End that you finally have been waiting for came out. You don't do anything. Also, Super Poly's running around in the format. Whatever board you're putting up can just get slurped. Alright? Oh, and don't even mention the fact that, you know, 1 Alba Lenitus from the one bad Despia player, because I actually seen somebody call a Despia player bad for playing Alba Lenitus. That's so strange to me. But the fact that you can get contact fused, you're like, guess I call it quits, guys. He's better than me. It'd be like that sometimes. The last deck I want to put in here is actually going to be Salamangreat. Out of nowhere, Salamangreat has had a decent amount of representation. Remember, this isn't going to be driven strictly by the YCS. While the Salad deck did not top the YCS, we've seen across multiple nationals and some regionals here that this deck has had a lot of consistency, actually. Heatzel really helped this deck out in terms of those events. And I mean, I would say that in terms of power scaling and things, if you didn't play during Salad format, you're probably looking at Salad right now and you're going, Rage Andor? Ugh. Like, how do I beat this? Like, trap cards are a very scary thing for Yu-Gi-Oh! Players that aren't aware of how to handle these sorts of things. So that's another, like, big thing I want to throw out here is Salad has been absent long enough in the format on like the high-end ceiling here and was pushed down to Rogue that now that players are seeing it back on the competitive scene and you have the new players here that are looking at this deck, they're very intimidated by what it puts up because it's been so long. Obviously, like if you're a more standard competitive player, you know, at a higher level event, you'll know what this deck does. But that surprise factor really does shake things up just enough to kind of have players go, oh, yeah, that's pretty intimidating. So that is going to be your 6 through 10 in terms of the meta for things. And we're going to look at Rogue in a later video here. And there's some very interesting things happening in Rogue now that I kind of want to mention. So guys, leave a comment down below, tell me what you're saying. Make sure you guys smash the crap out of that subscribe button. I'll see your beautiful faces back here later in the day, guys. Peace out. Patrons, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.